So let's talk about some of these storylines going into the last weekend of the regular season for the PLL. It's exciting stuff. So we've got a couple questions we're going to ask. Travis, who's your MVP? Boom.
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
Oh.
And I think I'm going to go with a different answer than what most people are saying. I'm going to go with Grant Amen from the Archers. He is tied for the lead in points so far. And I think the argument against him maybe is the fact that he's in a team with all these different pieces. But he has been the key piece. You look at his numbers, 10 goals, 19 assists. Despite the fact he's got great players around him, he has made players like Will Manny and Marcus Holman better because of their ability to play off ball and his ability to kind of quarterback that offense. It also helps open up things from Tom Schreiber from the top of the box. I think this year we have finally seen the collection of pieces work better. It's kind of what we expected when this team first came out in terms of how they would work offensively. I think because of him playing great, it's allowed all the other pieces to work well together, which makes him the most valuable player on any team.
Okay, I'm going to go with Jeff Teat personally. I think he's played one less game. He has the same amount of points as Grant Amen.
Right.
He has a better shooting percentage than Grant Amen, and they're the top team in the league, the Atlas. And a lot of people are surprised about that. And, of course, Teat didn't play the first couple games of the year, has played ever since. And I know you're saying, well, Atlas had the best team and whatnot, and, you know, he's just another cog in that. But I feel like they wouldn't have been able to sustain their success without Jeff Teat in that lineup each and every single week as the catalyst for that squad, who isn't surrounded by so many veteran players. Teat coming off a year in which he didn't play in college at all.
You're right.
And I think that makes it even, not necessarily strengthens his case, but I think that's just impressive to talk about. And if you pair him against Grant Amen, who's had a great season, he is definitely should be a finalist for the MVP award. The offense isn't the strength of the Archers. They have the best defense in the league, and you could argue that's why they are where they are this year. I feel like that is sort of the storyline behind Grant Amen. He's put up the points, but their defense is their strength for the Archers, so that's why I would give Teat a little bit more of an advantage there.
I don't argue with Teat, but I'm going to give Grant Amen. I like it.
Okay, let us move on to the second nugget we're talking about, and that is the biggest surprise. Thank you, our producer Dylan, for reminding me what that would be. The biggest surprise of the season can be anything, anyone, and anywhere. What do you want?
I'm going to go with the team that Jeff Teat plays on, the Atlas.
Yeah.
I mean, they blew it up. Ben Rubior blew it up this year. He said, we're done with what we did from the very beginning. They get rid of Rabel. They get rid of Pinnell. Kyle Hartzell leaves. Scotty Rogers is gone.
Yeah.
And all they've done is go from the bottom of the standings during the championship series, where they went 1-4 a year ago, to being the top team in the league entering the final week of the regular season. Nobody saw this coming. I don't remember what the betting odds were, but like you're making a boatload of money if you bet on the Atlas after everything they did at the beginning of the season to be where they are now. It's astonishing.
And they got blown out in week 1.
Yeah.
They got blown out of the water, and you're like, this is not going to be a fun, this is going to be a long year, like a rebuilding year. And I feel like this can only happen in a league sort of with this few teams to be able to do this and be able to come out and consistently play. But yeah, I agree with that. That's a huge surprise.
I mean, how many teams do really, like, how do you look at a team that gets rid of Paul Rabel, one of the best midfielders ever to play the game, and Rob Pinnell, who is still one of the better attackmen in the entire world, and those guys move and the team got better? It's unbelievable.
You could argue that they got better. Honestly, they did not play their best on the Atlas for some reason or another. It just didn't work.
And credit to Ben Rubior, because he blew it up and changed what they were doing, and it's worked.
All right, my surprise, I'm going with the Whip Snakes. And I know you might say, oh, Rambo's been out, so their record is not so much of a surprise this year. But it's outside of Rambo, sort of the down years that some of these guys with the Whip Snakes are having. The defensive side of the ball, Bernlohr especially, his save percentage is way down this year. They also have the worst offense in the league, which is also something of some of a surprise. Zed Williams, of course, the MVP last year in that bubble, and they just haven't seemed to have a lot. So it feels like just the entire team. I know Rambo being out has impacted how they've played the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
But you look at the rest of the squad, and everybody's sort of having one of those down years, including Nardella as well. He won over 70% of the faceoffs he took last year. This year he's down around, I think 51% is where he's at. So you look at the body of work there for the Whipsnakes. I thought they would do a little bit better, and and they're going to try and do that with Rambo back here.
It's almost like there was something about to give. Like they had been so good during the first 2 years of the PLL that it was like something had to give, and it's given this year.
Yeah, Bernlohr last year was 63% save percentage. This year, 51. I mean, that's way down, and he was giving up, 8.4 goals a game last year, 12 this year.
I think it shows you the margins, too, what they did the first 2 years and how dominant they were. And now, like, it doesn't take much to all of a sudden be right there in the middle of the pack.
I will then now move to our next question, Travis, because the Whipsnakes are also my title contender.
They are?
How about that to flip it around on you? Because I do think
I did not see that coming.
You have Rambo, who looks like he's healthy. We've seen the Instagrams, and it looks like he's back to the active roster or whatever. The King has returned, I believe, was the Instagram post, something like that. So he comes back, and then they bring in Gutterding as well. They knew they needed more help outside of Rambo. So probably knowing Rambo was coming back, you bring in Gutterding for a team that has been there and done that. I mean, you now can say that now they're year 3 of the PLL. They do have experience in big games down the final stretch of the year. They're going to make the playoffs. And then you probably will see some, I don't know, what's the opposite of regression to the mean? Would it be just aggression to the mean?
They're going to progress.
They will progress to the mean. So some of those guys that are having some of the down here, I believe, will start raising that back up. Bernlohr will get things going once again, Nardella as well, and they will peak at the right time. They haven't peaked yet, and I think Rambo coming back to the Whipsnakes will be my title contender.
All right,
Win 3 in a row.
That's an interesting one. I think it's crazy to think that because Atlas and Water Dogs, who are both teams that we thought, I think, were going to be at the bottom of the standings or at the top, it really opens up this race. This thing is wide open. So I am also, like you, not going with one of those top 2 teams. I'm going to go with Grant Amen's Archers squad. I mean, all you have to do is look at the margins in terms of their losses. 3 losses by a total of 3 goals. 3 one-goal losses is all that is differentiating this team from being one of the top teams. Like 1 goal or 2 goals goes differently, they're looking like the dominant top seed. Now, look, anything can happen, and that is how small the margins are in this league. You can't lose like that in the playoffs. But I think that 3-game losing streak was good. It brought them back down to earth. They now have kind of settled down, got going back in the right direction. Big 2-game weekend this weekend. I think it sets the table for them to go 2-0, boost their seeding into the playoffs. And I mean, it was the team we saw at the beginning of the season was dominant. They're still, with those 3 losses, still outscoring their opponents by 25 goals. That's 9 more goals in goal differential than anybody else in the league. When they are good, they are better than everybody else. I think they turn it on.
I believe that on paper we've picked, or someone has picked, the Archers every year of the PLL.
You're right. I think this is the year.
Is this it?
This is the year.
Time?
I'm telling you, this is it.
Okay.
It felt like it at the beginning. I think this is the year.
We'll see.